Hi everyone, and welcome to this workshop series on branding. My name is Chris Converse, and what we're going to be doing today is using a bunch of different Creative Cloud apps and services to create the right mood or feeling for our brand. Now, mood boards give you a great way that you can sort of explore designs and the look and feel of a product before you actually start the design process. And there's lots of ways that you can create a mood board. You can design them from scratch in a design application. You can start from a template. You can even create your own mood boards on a service like Behance and sort of be inspired by other creative folks out there on that platform. So by the end of today's workshop, we're going to have a mood board that we can share with our clients and colleagues. And along the way, we're going to be inspired by colors, by patterns. We're going to search for fonts and images on Adobe Stock using images as our search criteria. And we're even going to modify vector artwork and photography by adjusting the colors to make them match into the brand and the colors that inspire us the most. So I hope this sounds interesting to you. And if so, sit back, let me demonstrate these workflows. Or if you'd like to follow along, gather up some of your assets, download some of these preview assets on Adobe Stock, and follow along with me. Now for this workshop, we're going to be working with a couple of different apps and services in Creative Cloud. You can get access to a lot of the services by simply logging into adobe.com. This will automatically log you into all of the web-based services. So we're going to be using the Creative Cloud app, both on desktop and mobile. We're going to be using Adobe Stock, Capture, and Behance. And we're going to be taking content that we save from Stock and elements that we capture with Adobe Capture and saving them into our Creative Cloud libraries. And then finally, we're going to be adjusting images that we find on Adobe Stock that don't quite match our brand, and we're going to adjust the colors both in Photoshop and Illustrator, giving us the ability to dramatically change photography and vector artwork. And so with that, let's continue and start with Adobe Capture. So I'm going to begin exploring colors and fonts by using Adobe Capture on my mobile device. So I'll bring up my mobile device here, and I'm going to start by tapping on this icon here, which is Adobe Capture. And inside of this application, I have a bunch of different ways that I can capture different types of materials, colors, patterns from my environment. So across the top here, I can go to materials, for example. I can tap on type, shape, colors. There's all kinds of different sort of modes we can put this in. So I'm going to begin by going to colors. And the first thing I can do is come down and either tap on the image icon or the camera. If I tap on the camera, this will turn on the camera of my device, and I can actually start looking at things on my desk. I can look at my little art director here. And as I'm moving this around, you'll see that there are little dots moving around, trying to figure out the colors that are most being used in this particular view. If I tap the screen once, this will put it into freeze mode. And now in freeze mode, I can come over here, tap on the color circles, and adjust the colors that are being sampled. If I click on the check mark, this will bring me to the next screen where I can edit these particular colors. I can tap on the color swatches. In the swatches mode, I can come in here and make adjustments to individual swatches by moving these sliders back and forth. I can go into harmonies, and I can change all of the colors one at a time here. Or I can tap the palette icon in the lower left and actually change all of the colors based on a color rule or a harmony. Now, if I don't like the changes I've made, I come up here and click the left arrow, and this will bring me back to my freeze state. I can tap again to unfreeze this. Now I'll hit the shutter, and then I'm going to simply come up here and hit save. Once I'm in the save dialog box, in the center here, you'll see that I can actually save this to a Creative Cloud library. I'm going to tap on the right arrow, and I'm going to come up here and click on the plus sign and create a new library. I'm going to name this Altera Athletics. Tap Create. Next, I'll come up here and give this a name. These will be my cool colors. And then I'll simply come down here and tap Save. And now, in addition to capturing colors live, I can also load colors from an image. So back on this screen here, I'm going to come down and tap on the image icon. Tap on my Creative Cloud files. And then I'll come in here and load an image I've already taken. So I'll tap on this guy here. This was our zipline instructor. He's wearing some really bright colors, and I think I really want to have some bright, impactful colors for this brand. So I'll come down here and tap Open. That's going to load this screen up here. And very similar to capturing my art director, I can come in here and adjust the colors if I want. So from this screen here, I can move some of these around. When I like this, I can tap on the check mark. I'll tap Save, And I'll save this into my Altura Athletics folder as well. Now, once this is done, I want to also take a look at how we can capture typography. So down at the bottom, I'm going to switch the mode to type. And now I'm going to come in here and take a photo of this headline here in this book. I'm going to hit the shutter. Next, I'll be asked to define the type I'd like to identify. So I'm going to pick this type. This is a great way to see a font that you like, but you're not really sure what it is. So I'll click on the check mark. Now this is going to go up to Adobe Sensei and the Creative Cloud, and it's going to figure out what font that is simply based on this picture. Now I'm going to come down here and click Change Text. I'm going to change it to the actual words that were on the screen here. Then I'll tap Done. And then I can scroll through here and see all of the Adobe fonts that most closely match the typeface detected in the original image. Now, if I want to activate one of these, I can simply come over here and click the checkbox. I'm going to hit Save. And now I can save these to my library. So I'll tap on this, type 1. This will be a serif font I might be interested in. Click Done, hit Save. And then just like with loading an image in the color adjustments, for type, I'm going to come down here and hit the X. I'm going to go back to the type mode. I'm going to load an image, Creative Cloud, and I'm going to load a graphic that I found on Adobe Stock that has some fonts that were used for some athletic projects. So I'll tap Open. Then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select this type right in here. Click the check mark. Again, we'll let this be identified. So we're seeing a lot of italic sans serif fonts showing up. So let's come in here and activate 2 or 3 of these. So I like that one. Let's keep going. The first one was automatically checked for me. And then maybe I'll just pick this one down here. At that point, let's come up here and hit Save. We're going to call these our sans serif. I can always rename these later in my library as well. Click Done, and then we'll hit Save. And now I also captured a couple of colors that I saw at my gym. So after I was done working out, I grabbed my phone and I just recorded a couple of colors that also had some fonts in there. And the fonts looked very consistent with other sort of brands I was seeing and other different treatments for athletic brands. And so with all of this, I've put together my final colors that I have inside of my library that I can use in my mood board. And with that, I want to check Behance next and see what other people are doing for brands similar to this. So now that I'm getting a little bit more of an idea on what I like with my colors and fonts, I want to put together a mood board based on projects that other creative people are doing. So I'm going to go over to Behance. I'm logged into my adobe.com site. Let's come down to Behance. And what I want to do in Behance is take a look at what other people are doing in this particular industry. So when I first go to Behance, I'm going to be on my For You screen, which is going to let me know about live events that are happening, anything that's been posted by people that I'm already following here. I can go over to the Discover tab. This is going to help me find different types of projects and see what other people are doing. Live streams will show me what's happening right now, and then there's a jobs board as well. So what I want to do is let's come in here under Discover. I'm going to come up here to the search menu, and let's search for projects similar to ours. So I'll search for athletics. I'll just click on that. And then I can come in here and scroll through and see the different types of projects that people are working on in the athletic space. So I can scroll through here and get a sense of the fonts and the colors, different things people are using. And if I find something interesting, I like the colors here. I'm going to come over here and select this item. This is going to give me a profile of this. I can see the image a lot larger. On the right-hand side, I have a bunch of different tools where I can appreciate this. I can save it. I can see the applications that this artist used. They used Photoshop and Illustrator. But if I come back down to Save, notice it says Add to Mood Board. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and this is going to allow me to create a mood board inside of Behance. And the mood board in Behance is basically going to be a collection of projects that I see other creatives creating, and I can then share that with my creative team. So I'll come down here and click Create Mood Board, and we'll come in here and name this Altura Athletics Inspiration. I'll come down and click Create. And now this particular project has been saved to that mood board. I'll come down and click Save. That's going to bring me back to this screen here. So I can X out of that preview, and I can come in here and start adding a couple of other projects. I can scroll through here. I like the warm colors. After my exploration, I'm really starting to like some of those ideas. So we're going to save that to this, close out, X out of the preview, and continue to scroll. I can also come in here and search by colors. So I can choose a warmer color here. That's going to change the results again. And there's also a few other filtering options up here as well. And finally, I can come over here to Tools and search for specific tools people were using. And this is going to be really helpful later on in this series when we want to start working with video in motion. So with this in place, let me scroll down, find a couple more projects. I'll add this one, choose Save, and then to see my artboard, I can come up here to my profile picture, scroll down, go to your Behance profile, and now on your profile screen, you'll see all of the projects that you've created, any live streams that you've watched, things that you've appreciated, and your mood boards. So I'll come over here and click on Mood Board, and now we'll see the 3 projects that I put into this mood board. And now from this main detail page, I can continue to edit this and add more projects here, or I can share this out with my design team. And again, this gives me a really great way to share inspiration that I found from other brands that are doing similar type of work for what we're going to be doing for our client. And now that I have a sense of the colors and fonts and sort of the style and color of photography that I like, next we can move over to Adobe Stock and find assets that we can use in our final project. Now I want to switch over to Adobe Stock and look for assets that I can use in my final project. And not only for the mood board, but for assets that we can use throughout the entire campaign. So let's come up here and go to our apps. Let's come down and go to Adobe Stock. And what I want to do inside of Adobe Stock is start searching for similar content, kind of like what we did inside of Behance. So I'll start with athletics, press return. We'll see what we get. So I can start to scroll through here and see all of the available search results. Now on the left-hand side, we have these filters that we can start adding to Adobe Stock to refine our search. And there's a lot of different filters that we can use. So over here, one of the filters that you'll see is color. I'm going to come down here and click on color. And I know that I've been leaning toward the reddish orange colors. So I'll come in here and set the color. Once I like that, I'll press return. That will refine the search. It's now going to combine athletics with that particular color. And you'll see that now all of the search results have changed. So let's scroll through here. And now once I see an image that I'm interested in, I'm going to come over here and hover over the image, and then I'm going to click on Save to Library. When I do that, in the upper right, you'll see this little flag show up. This is actually saving this to one of my libraries. I'm going to click Manage and change the brand from Tour & Co. to Altura Athletics. And if you remember earlier, we actually created this library using Adobe Capture. So I'll select Altura Athletics, and now this image will be saved into that library, along with the fonts that we liked and the colors that we got from Capture. Now there's another great way that we can search Adobe Stock, and that is by searching based on an image. So I'm going to scroll up to the top here. I'm going to turn off the color. I'm going to come up to the search field. I'm going to delete that. And now I'll close up my browser a little bit to reveal my Creative Cloud files. And in here are the same photos that I loaded earlier inside of Capture. These are in my Creative Cloud files, so they're synchronized across my devices. And what I want to do is search based on our zipline instructor here. So I'm going to come over here to the website. I'm going to click on this little camera icon inside of the search field. Then I'm going to grab the instructor JPEG file and drop it right into this area here. That's going to initiate a new search on Adobe Stock based on those colors and the composition and what Adobe Sensei thinks is inside of that image. And now in the results, we can see people who are rappelling and ziplining because Adobe Sensei can see that the image is using some ropes here or some kind of cable. We can also see the colors are similar as well. So I'll continue to scroll through here. And now if I find an image that's similar, I can add this to the library just like we did before. So let's scroll down here a little bit. I'll come in here and grab this image. I'll click on the little heart symbol here to add to library. Stock will remember the library, so it's going to go into the Altura Athletics. You can scroll down. Now I can also come in here and add another piece of criteria to the search. So I'll come in here and type running, press return, and now we can see all of the results are combining all of those things together. And in some of these results, we can even see something that might even look like a rope. So the railing along these stairs, for example. So again, just like before, I can continue to scroll through here, find images, and if I find something else that I like, we can add that to the library as well. Now, another type of design file that we can search for is a vector file. Now, these are files that we can edit in Adobe Illustrator, and these give us the ability to have graphics that can be scaled to any size, and we can use these as backgrounds. We can use these in interactive projects, like inside of XD, for example, to create an interface for a website or a mobile application. And they're also very versatile in letting us change the structure of the content. So let's come over here to the left-hand side. Let's go to our filter. And I'm going to change the subcategory from photos to vectors. So I'll uncheck photos. We'll check vectors. And if we leave the keyword of running, you'll see all of these results will now change. These are all files that could be edited with a tool like Adobe Illustrator, where we could get in and actually change all of the points and the curves of all of this artwork. So I can scroll through here and see all of these pieces. We can also apply colors to this as well and other search criteria. So I'll scroll down to the bottom really quick. Let's come in here. Again, I will pick my orangish color, press return. And what I'm looking for in the vector shapes is just something that might give me an interesting background. I'm also going to be looking for interface elements because later on throughout this series, we're going to be creating an interactive experience inside of XD, and we're going to need things like icons and little button shapes. So we're going to need additional artwork for experience design, as well as some different vectors for our different design projects. And just like before, if I see something I'm interested in, I can come up here and add this to my library. And so now at this point, I want to take a look at everything I've saved into my library so far. Now I've also saved a few other elements in here that I haven't shown during this tutorial. But if I come up here to the My Libraries dropdown, let's come in here and go to Altera Athletics. So I'll widen the browser here. Now something you might notice right away is I do have a couple of images in here that don't match the overall sort of tone and style I've been going for. The first one is this vector shape in the upper left-hand corner here. I really like the design and pattern inside of here, but it's not in the right color. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making adjustments to vector artwork. And if I scroll down, we're going to be making adjustments to photography as well. So again, these two images have this sort of feel that I like, the sort of tone, but they don't have the colors and the mood. And so now we're going to continue by adjusting these images to make them match the overall mood we're after. So at this point, I've cleaned up my libraries a little bit. As you can imagine, the sort of design and exploratory phase can get a little messy. If I jump over to Adobe Stock, I have pared down my images to everything we see here. I got rid of the lumberjack. And I've also gone ahead and added some colors and some additional fonts. So from the main Adobe screen here, I'm going to go into my Creative Cloud. And in my Creative Cloud, I'm going to go to the Your Work section. Here I can see all of my libraries. So here is my Altera Athletics library. If I come in here, I can see additional content that I've added, not just what is available from Adobe Stock. So I've gone through the fonts website and added a couple of extra fonts. I have added some colors that I really like based on things I've captured with Adobe Capture. And then of course I can see the assets down here. So what I want to do is I want to start with that vector image, and we're going to recolor that in Illustrator. So let's jump over to Illustrator and get started on that. Now here I have licensed this image. You do need to license vector artwork to get to the actual vector shapes. So if I come in here and just sort of hover over this, you can see all those little vector shapes showing up. If I come over here to the layers panel, you can see everything is organized into groups. Now to take a look at the vectors, I'm going to come in here and just zoom up on this. I can zoom up to any size. Vector graphics are resolution independent. I'm going to hit the letter A to get my direct selection tool here. And I can come in here and just start to manipulate and move these around. So again, these are all vector shapes. I can come in and change this content. So this is pretty amazing. But if I want to come in here and change colors, this means every individual object or vector shape has its own color settings. So I can see the color settings here. These are actually small gradients. Hit Command or Control 0 to zoom out and fit in view. I'm going to come in here and select this outer circle shape here. With this selected, I can see that this is a giant radial shape. In my properties panel, I can come down here and click on Edit Gradient. So I can see that the type is a radial gradient. I can click Edit. That will bring up my editing tool, and I can come in here and change the in and out points of that gradient. In addition, I can also come in here and change the colors. So let's apply some of the colors from our library. So I'll turn on my library panel by going up to Window, then down to Libraries. Then in my Libraries panel, I'll go to our current library, Altair Athletics, and in here we can see all the same assets that I saw on the website. I can also come in here and organize this by clicking the Auto Generate Groups for me. And with this node selected on the gradient, I can come over here and click on my red swatch and apply that. I'll click on the second swatch, maybe apply the orange. And now I can come in here and change all those properties. But as you may have imagined, changing all of this content one at a time is going to take us quite a bit of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to instead come in here and use a feature inside of Illustrator called Recolor Artwork. So I'm going to come up to the File menu. I'm going to revert this to its original state. I'll zoom out just a little bit. Move this over. I'm going to come in here and select this text here and hit delete. I don't want to use that. I'm going to hit V for my move tool, which is this tool here. And I'm going to come in here and select all of the artwork. Now I can tell that all of the artwork is selected over here in the layers panel. I can see this little blue icon showing up here next to the layer group. And if I open this up, I can see that the blue icon is highlighted on all of these individual groups. If I were to come in here, for example, and just select maybe this particular ellipse, you'll see that the blue dot indicates that that layer is selected, but I don't see any additional filled in layers and I don't see any blue dots. You can also select everything in your Illustrator file by clicking the topmost group and selecting this blue icon here. Anyway, the reason we need to select all of this is because when we choose recolor, I want to make sure everything is being recolored. So with all of these selected, let's come up here to the toolbar and we're going to come down and click Recolor Artwork. That's going to bring up this dialog box here. And what this allows me to do is to grab these little swatches on this color wheel and drag these around. And when I let go, all of the artwork is going to be modified. Every color stop in every gradient, every vector shape, every solid fill and stroke is all going to be updated as I move this around. Now I can grab individual colors here and adjust their saturation. So I can come in here and grab one of these here. This one actually controls all of them, so I can drag all of them down. Or I can come in here and grab individual ones and move these up and down. Now this is a really fun tool to play with. You can also go into something called Advanced Mode. I'll come down here and click on that. What Advanced Mode lets you do is actually pick specific colors and map them to other colors. This can be especially helpful if you are using a matching system like Toyo or Pantone and you want to take a particular color and match it to a spot color. I'm going to come back here to the Edit screen here. And you can also come in here and reassign all of the colors based on color harmonies, very similar to what we did earlier in Adobe Capture. But what I want to do is adjust all of the colors so that they kind of match this red color that I've picked out in my library. So I'm going to come over here and click Cancel just to sort of reset everything. Go back to Recolor Artwork. And then I'm going to come down here. I'm going to keep all of the colors together, linked. You can, by the way, unlink these and just move one particular color around if you'd like. I'll undo that. Link these together, and I'm going to spin these around and bring these into that same color hue that I have in my library. So I might bring this back just a little bit. I can grab my main color here and just pull this back a little bit, just to take away some of the electric quality of that red, just to bring this back just a little bit. And once I have a color that I really like, I can simply come over here and just click away and all of those colors will be applied. Now what I want to do is let's select all of these layers. I can marquee select over here, or again, I can just click on the blue over here. And I want to save this now into the library. So I can just simply come over here with my move tool, click and drag, and I'm going to drag a copy of this right into my library. And now I'll have a new piece of artwork that I can use that's going to better match the overall mood of my other assets. Now in this lesson, I want to show you two techniques that I use all the time inside of Photoshop to adjust my images to match the overall mood that I'm going for my mood board. Now in some cases, we just want to adjust the overall colors of an image for this particular one down here. And in some cases, we just need to remove a color altogether. So let's start with this one first. So what I want to do is come in here and use my object selection tool. And then I want to select just this sneaker here on the right. Now what I do is I usually will come out way over here on the bottom right, click and drag to the upper left and make sure the entire sneaker is sort of in the selection box. And then I'm going to let go. So Photoshop is going to use Adobe Sensei and try to figure out what it is I'm trying to select here. So we can see that we have a selection for our sneaker. Now there's a couple parts that are missing. So let's come up here to Select and Mask. And inside of the Select and Mask feature, we can come in here and refine what's being selected. So I'm going to zoom up here a little bit. Now on the right-hand side, we can choose the view mode. There's a couple of different view modes. And so here's marching ants, which is what you're used to seeing. We can also go into an onion skin mode, overlay. We can see the whole thing on black or on white. And we can also see the mask that's going to be created. So I'm going to come in here and choose overlay. What this will allow me to do is to see the areas that are not selected in this orange color, and anything that is in full opacity, I can tell that's part of the image that's being selected. So right now, the mode of this tool here that I'm moving around is in its additive state. So I'm going to hit my right bracket to increase this a little bit. And I'm going to paint over here and just tell Photoshop that I want to add this area of the sneaker. Now what's really cool here is I don't have to be perfect. I can go a little past the edge, and Photoshop is always trying to pay attention to what is inside of the image outside of that brush area. So I'm going to hit the space bar and move down here a little bit. Now I want to subtract this area in yellow, so I'll hold the Option key, Alt on Windows. I can simply click once and that's going to get rid of all of that. And then I can see that Photoshop didn't quite detect the entire area of the shoelace. So I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller. I'm going to start clicking and painting right around where the shoelace is. Now at some point it might decide that everything inside gets selected, so I hold the Option key, click to remove that. And then what I can do is I can zoom up and then refine this a little bit. Hold the Option key. I can make my brush a little bit smaller and just sort of paint a little bit. Again, I don't have to be too perfect. Photoshop is going to continually detect the edges as I'm going through and painting this out. Once I'm done, I can zoom out. I see one extra spot here. Hold the Option key. I'll just click and drag and paint that area out. So that looks great. So once I like this, I'm going to come down here and click OK. That's going to give me my selection. And then I'm going to come over here to the Layers panel, down at the bottom, come down here and click on Add a Layer Mask. Now I have a completely silhouetted shape of that sneaker. Let me zoom out a little bit. Let's go to the window menu. Let's come down to Libraries. We're going to open up our Altura Athletics library. I have the layers selected over here in the Layers panel. Let's come down here, click on the plus sign, and choose Add Graphic. And now I've added artwork that is only contained inside of the mask as a new library element. So with that, I'm going to close this file. I'll choose Don't Save. And for the second example, I want to come in here and use another technique to color the entire photo. So there's a lot of great color adjustment features inside of Photoshop. You can find a lot of these under the Image menu under Adjustments. You can also apply adjustments as non-destructive layers in the Adjustment Layers panel down here at the bottom of the Layers panel. So we can apply all of these different properties. Now there's one feature that I really like that combines a lot of these together, and that is a filter called Camera Raw. So to begin to use that in a non-destructive way, I'm going to come over here to the background layer. I'm going to right click and I'm going to convert this to a smart object. Once it's a smart object, I'm going to come up to the filter menu, come down to Camera Raw Filter, and that's going to bring up this dialog box here where I can come in here and make some color adjustments. So I'll come over here to the basic settings first. I'll come in here and just make a couple of adjustments. I might bring the temperature up here a little bit, bring the exposure up, and maybe even reveal a little bit more in some of the shadows. And then down here for curves, let's go into this section. I know that I want this to be warmer to sort of match what I can see happening in my library. So I'm going to click on the red color here, And in the upper right corner, I'm going to click on this and I'm just going to move this up just a little bit. You can't be too heavy-handed with curves. These make global adjustments across the entire image based on those color ranges. So I'm going to move the red up just a little bit here. Then I'm going to switch over to the blue, which is the cooler color. And in the lower left-hand corner, I'm going to grab this and I'm just going to pull this down a little bit. So again, I don't want to be too heavy-handed. You can always go back and make adjustments. So I might move the blue down just a little bit, maybe come back to the red, and maybe pull this up a little bit more, maybe pull it to the left. And you can start to see the entire area here really warming up. I can come back to my basic, maybe increase my temperature, and then inside of basic, I also like to bump up the vibrance a little bit, which will adjust the saturation of the colors without changing the contrast. And then I might also come in and just do some saturation. Now to see the difference, I can click the backslash on my keyboard. There's before and there's after. So that's a dramatic difference with just a couple of adjustments inside of Camera Raw. Click OK. And now to add this to my library, I do need to flatten this so that all of these adjustments will be saved to my library panel. However, I don't want to flatten this for my source Photoshop file. Let's hit Command or Control J to duplicate this layer. Let's right click on the duplicate. Let's choose Rasterize. Then what I can do, just like in Illustrator, is grab this modified layer and drag and drop it right into my library panel. Now I have that new adjusted image that I can use in my final mood board. So at this point, I have all of my assets gathered and captured and adjusted. Now I'm ready to put together the mood board. Now there's no specific way that you have to put a mood board together. The general idea is you want to put all of your stuff together so that your client and colleagues can just get a sense of what the overall mood of the entire project is going to be. So one of the things that I'll do is I'll go to Adobe Stock and take a look at some of the templates that they have. So on the main stock page, I'll come down to templates, and then I'll come in here and type in mood board. On this screen here, I can scroll through and see all of the templates that are available. And there's a whole bunch to choose from here. On the left-hand side, if I open up filters, you can come in here and pick a specific application that you might like. I'll come in here and choose Photoshop, for example. And the mood board that I'm going to use for this project is going to be this one down here. I can click on this. This one is actually free to license. So you can click on license for free, and this will download a source Photoshop template. Now, before we do that, I also want to show you two fonts that I've activated. Up here in another panel, I'm on fonts.adobe.com, and I've activated Active Grotesque and Ethnocentric. So these two fonts, after looking at all the fonts I captured and evaluating fonts I saw on Behance, these are the two that I want to use in my mood board. And so now here inside of Photoshop, when you open a Photoshop template, the document will open as Untitled. And here in the Layers panel, you can see how this document has been structured. So I can open up some of these groups here and see all of the different pieces that make up this particular mood board. Now, one of the quickest and easiest ways to add content is to select your Move tool, hold Command on the Mac or Control in Windows, and click, and this will automatically select an item. So if I want to replace this picture here, I can now look in the Layers panel, and I can see that this is the torn vertical photo structure. They've even put little torn edges and all kinds of cool things in here. I'll just zoom up here a little bit. And if you read inside the template, the red layer here, this particular artist, highlighted this layer red and named this layer your image here. And notice that this is a smart object. If I double click this, I can see the source contents of that smart object. Currently they're blank. So let me go over here to my library panel. Let's scroll down. Let's find the image of these two women running. I'll drag and drop this right into the canvas. I'm going to zoom out, and holding the Option key or Alt in Windows, I'm going to scale this up. With the transform still selected, I'll come down to the transform under the edit menu, come down and choose flip horizontal. I'll move them into place. I'll press return. And now I'll see in the layers panel, I have a smart object linked to my library panel. So you can see the little cloud icon here. At this point, I will close this smart object. We'll hit save. And now we'll see that image is now positioned right inside of that area. If I hit the move tool, I can move this around and sort of reframe that inside of that artwork. Scale it up a little bit and move it into place. Now I can go through the rest of the artboard, replacing all of my individual assets. And so now that you get the idea of how we can replace elements in this template, I'm going to jump ahead to this same mood board just a little bit further along in the process. So here I have changed the background color. I've replaced a bunch more images here. Let me zoom up. So down here we have that image of that woman that's much too cool. So what I want to do is replace this one. Again, hit V for your move tool, Command or Control click. Scroll down in the layers panel. I can see this image showing up right here. So let me double click this to bring up the original image. And now this is a smart object that is linked to my library panel. So I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to choose relink to library graphic. Now over in my library panel, I can come in here and select the image I'd like to relink to. So I'm going to pick this one here that we adjusted earlier. In the bottom right, I'll click on relink, and that will switch this image for the other one in my library. We'll close this, choose save, and that image will be updated. I'll hit the space bar to move over to the side. Let's come in here. I'm going to command click or control click on this little paint swatch here. I can scroll down. I can see that these paint swatches were created by using a color adjustment layer. You can see those under here. So I'm going to select this layer, come over here to my swatches in my library panel, click on the color and apply this color here. You can also see some type down here at the bottom. We'll select the type layer. I have athletics selected here. Let's come over here and activate one of our fonts. So I'll set this one in the ethnocentric. Command click the other one. Let's set this in the active grotesque. Let me zoom out. Let me scroll down to the bottom. We have a folder that I created here with our vector recolored artwork. So I'll select this one layer here. Then I'm going to come over to the library panel. Let's click and drag. I'm going to bring in the same vector artwork again. It comes in really tiny, but remember this is vector, so I can scale this to any size. So let me zoom out, hold the Option key, scale from the corners. I'm moving this. I'm paying attention to the right-hand side here. I want some of that angled movement to sort of show. I want it to sort of cut through the paint swatches. I'm going to press return. We're going to zoom up. And with this layer selected, I'm going to come over here and add a layer mask. Then I'm going to come up here to my gradient tool, and I'm going to create a gradient from black to white. If you don't have the black and white as the colors, you can hit the letter D on your keyboard, and that will put white in the foreground, black on the background, then X to switch them. Come over here to the layer, make sure the layer mask is selected, and I'm going to click and drag and just add a gradient mask so that I can sort of mask out part of that shape. And then finally, let's come in here. Let's grab the sneaker. Let's drag this into our artboard. That's going to come in really large. I'm going to press return to commit that. In the layers panel, let's drag this up. We'll drag this near the top somewhere. I'm going to hit Command or Control T to transform this. Go to the edit menu, transform, flip horizontal. Then I'm going to rotate this a bit, scale it down, hold the Option key to scale from the center, and I'll move this down into place. Zoom up here a little bit. And it'd be nice to just sort of have this breaking the plane of the picture, maybe have this behind the type, and some of the shoelaces in front of the paint swatches. So I'll press return to commit that. Come over here to the layers panel, and I'll just move this below the type group. So pretty quickly, using a template, we can add all of the assets from our library panel into this template and really create a mood board that's going to really sell our idea of the mood, the colors, the fonts, just really give our client a sense of the design that we're thinking about for this project. And so now with our mood board complete, next we're going to share this with our clients and colleagues so we can gather feedback and see what they think about the mood of the project. Now that I'm done with my mood board, I do have a couple of options for how I can share this with my clients. Now, there are quite a few ways that you can share your project. You could export a JPEG from Photoshop and email it, for example, but I want to show you two other options. First is I can use Creative Cloud to not only share this, but enter into a collaboration with my clients. So we're going to do that by starting from the File menu inside of Photoshop, coming down and choosing Save As, and in this dialog box, I want to start by saving this as a cloud document. So I'm going to choose Cloud Document, and this will save this as a special Photoshop cloud document that I can access through a web browser, and I can also open on the iPad in both Photoshop for the iPad and Fresco. So I'm going to leave the name here the same, Ultra Athletics Mood Board, click Save, and now this file is going to be pushed up and turned into a cloud document. And then when this is done, I'm going to go back to adobe.com. I'm going to come up to my Applications and Services. I'm going to go into Creative Cloud. I'll click on the Your Work section, and now I can see my Photoshop document showing up right here. So let me click on this to enter into this collaboration area. So I can preview the document right in a browser here, and so can my clients and colleagues. I can also come over here and add a comment. So maybe I'll come over here, add a pin, and then come in here and see what people think about the colors. And then of course I can come up here and invite people in to comment by sending them a link. So that's the first way I wanted to show you how you can share your content and collaborate. Next, let's go back to Photoshop and let's save out a JPEG file that we can load into Behance as a project. So now back inside of Photoshop, let's come up to the File menu. Let's come down and choose Export, and then choose Export As. Now inside of this dialog box here, on the right hand side, let's come over here and change the format. We want to choose the JPEG format. On the left hand side, we can see a live representation of not only the dimensions, but the file size. So this is going to be about 5.7 megabytes. Now we don't quite need 100% JPEG quality. We can save a good amount of file size just by bringing this down a little bit, maybe to about 82 or 83%. Visually, you won't be able to see a difference, but you can see that makes a significant difference in the file size. This brings us down to 3.1 megabytes. So let's come down and choose Export. I'm going to save this to my desktop. We'll click Save. Then we'll head back over to the browser, come up to my Apps and Services. Let's go into Behance. And inside of Behance, in the top, I'm going to come over here and click Create a Project. Now the content I'm going to add is going to be an image. I can select that here or here. Click on Image. And from my desktop, I'll grab the mood board. We'll click Open. That'll place this project in here. Now I can also come in here and add additional content, maybe some text. Can continue as a draft or just hit Continue. I'm going to hit Continue. And then in here, I can check off a bunch of different categories. I can put more information about the title and tags and the tools I used and so forth. Next, I might want to change the visibility to private, especially if my client hasn't seen this yet. And then we can come down and choose Publish. And then once it's published, I can send the link to anyone I choose. So at this point, we've completed the workshop by creating a mood board using a variety of apps and services. And we've also shared that mood board with our colleagues and clients using both Creative Cloud and Behance. So now we're ready to dive a little bit deeper in the next workshop where we'll take a look at exploring typography for our brand.